There are people in this world who are hurting deeply. And there are people in this world who are taking advantage of others. There are people who use their whole of all of their energy to siphon off energy from other people. There are people in this world who are cruel, and there are people in this world who are selfish. Which one are you? Which one do you strive to be? There are people who are strong, who get things done, people who are ambitious, people who are fair. Oftentimes I find that the people who we call the good people are people who tend to stay in the house. They tend to stay out the way, as we say. But the thing about that is that evil never sleeps. Evil is always working. It's always active. And if good people just go to work and go home, and they're just worried about their family, and evil is always working, and what does that do for the world? You can look around and you can see what's going on. You can look around and you can see that the world is in need. And that's a fight that I would like to fight. I would like to fight for a better humanity. I would like to fight for those who can't fight. And I've been like this for a long time, for most of my life. And I found that I've been alone for most of my life. Most of the time, the people who I surrounded myself were fighting me. You know, it was a lot of betrayal, a lot of undermining, a lot of sabotage, and I just never understood why. And still to this day, I go through it. And I never understood why. I mean, I have a better understanding of it now. But oftentimes I think, damn, is it everybody? And then I have to look at myself. You know, it was a time in my life where I was going down the wrong road. I was fighting every day, every single day. Every little thing that somebody did to me, they were going to get it. You know, and then somebody intervened in my life and they gave me some advice and it kind of changed my life. And this is young. I'm, you know, in elementary school, but it changed my life. And from that day forward, I began to consider other people, you know, more so than considering myself. I would look at things from other people's perspective, and I had a more deeper understanding. And I would try to communicate that to the people who were around me, but it seems like no one else cared. The people that I was around only cared about their needs being met. They only cared about the way that the world saw them and the things that they wanted and desired, and that was it. And then you had me, who I was a giver. You know, I would give my last, and I did over and over again, and no one gave back to me, and I lost over and over again. You know, oftentimes I think about, like now, especially now, was that the right road? But then I think about who I was, even at a young age, and who I would have became, and what I've been holding back. And I just believe that if not for this person intervening in my life, I would have went to prison for a long time. I was that type of person. I was somebody would have killed me, or I would have killed somebody else. I definitely would have killed other. Yeah. You know, and this is hard for me to say, and it's hard for a lot of people to understand. And I don't say it much because it sounds crazy, but I believe that if I had not controlled my power for most of my life, I believe that it would have went out of control and it would have landed me in prison. And I would probably be living my days out in prison, locked down 23 hours a day. Because that's the way that I see the world, there's a lot of people who transgress every day. I see small patterns. It could be a gift and a curse, but I see patterns. Patterns. I can see where if you do this, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, and I can, and it's not in my mind. It's just, you know, what I found just through the study of psychology. Like male-female relationships. Women develop senses. It's more, they say it's 5 senses, but it's more than that. Women develop senses that men never develop because men, we're usually more physically strong. So we don't have to worry about some of the things that women have to worry about. So women develop more senses than men. And so like people who have been traumatized, it's the same. Like if you grew up and you didn't feel safe as a child, you develop senses to where you can read the room and read people and read patterns and circumstances to know if you're in a safe environment. And those are senses that other people don't have. So I can recognize, I see patterns in people. I can see things happening before they happen. It's been plenty of times where that has kept me safe. It has saved others. And I just found, and by me keeping my strength under control, it invites, and I try to live very young. I adopted, I thought that this would help to change my circumstances, but it actually made things worse. But now I understand, which was adopting the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, when you do that, you're inviting persecution. You're inviting the walk of Jesus. That's the walk of Christ. That is the walk of a prophet. That is the walk of, and not saying that I'm perfect and I'm holding it. No, because I'm human. I'm a human being, but I try my best, and I could not understand why so many people took advantage of me over and over and over again. And to see, the other side of it is when they would do it, I have an understanding where I can see their perspective and why they do it. I over understand in a lot of cases, and and in many ways I've paid a heavy price for that. A heavy price for that. Was it worth it? To this point, I would say no. I would say that but the alternative, it has to be worth it. I have to make it worth it, because the alternative, it was prison, life in prison. What's the strength, the power that I withhold, and my upbringing and the way that my family treats me and the people, my so-called friends treating me, and my relationships, I was just in a bad space. But I always wanted to, I looked up to, some great leaders. I looked up to Dr. King. I looked up to Minister Farrakhan. I looked up to Malcolm X. I looked up to Nat Turner. I looked up to some great leaders, and I'm missing. I don't want to never Medgar Evers. Medgar Evers was really that was the first black man. Wow, I wanted to be like Medgar Evers, in the sense where when things are going wrong, for the whole, that I would be somebody who would step up and would try to make things right. And that's something that most people just don't have. They just don't have that where they feel responsible for the group. So I guess saying it like that, that's a leadership quality. But my form of leadership, which was coalition style leadership. Now, when I was, what is it called?